여러분 안녕하십니까? 크립토인사이트 진행을 맡은 김세영입니다. 테슬라 같은 기업의 로봇의 몸체를 만든다면 지능을 담당하는 소프트웨어를 만드는 것도 필요하겠죠. 이런 모든 로봇이 공유할 수 있는 집단 지능을 만들고 있는 기업이 있습니다. 오늘은 미국 실리콘밸리의 로봇 운영체제 전문 기업인 오픈마인드의 이안 리파라트 대표님을 모시고 함께 이야기 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. Thank you for joining us, our show today. It's a real pleasure and honor to welcome you to our program.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
그러면 이제 본격적으로 인터뷰를 시작해 볼 텐데요. 오픈마인드가 어떤 일을 하고 있는지 또 어떤 계획이 있는지 좀 본격적으로 이야기 나눠볼게요. So could you give us a brief introduction to OpenMind and the kind of work your company is doing?
I've been fascinated with robots since I was a little kid.
Oh.
And I'm sure all of us have seen movies and read books about a future where people are surrounded by thinking machines. These are machines that learn and make people laugh and can help build things and can help take care of people. And however, for many, many, many years, robots were programmed in a deterministic way. Robots were programmed to do one thing over and over again. You know, pick up something, move it, put it down over and over and over again.
Just simple tasks.
Very simple tasks. And the really amazing thing that has happened in the last few years is the development of AI. And it turns out that many of the language models that people use today to write and create content and also to code are also good at controlling physical robots. And what this means is that all of a sudden you can now imagine building humanoid robots that remember, that can make decisions, that know about your home.
Wow.
That know your family background, that can tell you stories, that can learn new tasks. And for me, as someone who's been fascinated by robots, that is one of the most amazing jumps in technical capability I've seen. And so just a year or so ago, I started to write software for the robots that live in my house in Los Altos, and I was looking at the software that was available for these robots, and I thought it needed to be improved. So I started a company to develop software for thinking machines.
Yeah, so robot can be your best friend, right?
Well, I like to think that human best friends are probably better, but there are many, many tasks where people could use help. And that struck me as a big, important opportunity.
Okay, so I've heard that OpenMind recently raised about 20 million from investors, including Pentra Capital, Coinbase Ventures, and other major Silicon Valley VCs. That's amazing. And why do you think so many different investors decided to participate?
Because they have good taste.
Yeah, of course. That's the first reason.
Well, we're, as a company, we're a little bit unusual because one core thing we do as a company is we develop software to make machines smart. That's step number one. But thinking ahead, we anticipate that smart machines will want to work and coordinate with other machines. Just like people have developed a lot of technology to coordinate and communicate, we think machines, as they become more and more independent, will want to do that as well. So we're also very interested in technologies that help machines coordinate with other machines and coordinate with humans. And some of that thinking for this infrastructure for the future has a financial component and a identity component and a governance component. And so that is why we also care about those areas, not just making one machine smart, but allowing machines to work with other machines and humans together as a team. And that then requires other technologies to help that coordination.
그러니까 오픈마인드가 최근에 이제 2천만 달러, 한화로는 약 277억 원 규모의 이제 투자를 유치했다고 하는데 이 투자금을 좀 어디에 사용할 계획인지도 여쭤보도록 할게요. So this $20 million funding round is quite significant, right? So how do you plan to allocate and use this capital?
Our main goal is to get robots out into the world right now. Sometimes when we speak to robotics companies or robotics engineers, they say humanoid robots are not ready. And from our perspective, we see hundreds of use cases of humanoids as they exist right now that do not require any of those capabilities. What that means is that humanoid robots, as they exist today, can already solve very important tasks in schools and hospitals and homes and for manufacturing. And so we think it's important to very rapidly get the technology out into the world, into schools and homes and hospitals, just so that we learn very, very, very quickly about what people actually want.
최근 오픈마인드에서는 이제 AI 기반의 로봇 시스템 OM1 베타를 출시했다고 하는데 이 OM1 베타가 뭘까요? 한번 여쭤보도록 할게요. So recently, OpenMind released the AI-based robotic system called OM1 beta, right? So could you explain what OM1 beta is and what makes it unique?
A lot of the software that humanoids used a few years ago was developed a long, long time ago in the past, 10 or 20 years ago. And of course, in computing, that's a long time. A lot of that software was built in a world that did not have AI. And it was still based on the notion that robots are primarily good at doing repetitive tasks over and over again. But now with the AI, there's a need for software that allows many, many different AIs to work together as a team to understand the world around the robot, to understand language, to synthesize all the data into a description of the world around the robot, and to send those data to a team of AIs that argue. And as the AIs are arguing, they come to a decision, and that decision is what the robot does. It speaks, it looks at people, it shows emotions, it moves, it does other things. And what our software does, it allows you to put together many pieces, and each of those pieces is a different AI. And what that software approach allows you to do is to repurpose the robot to many, many different skills very easily and quickly. For example, for one of our robotic dogs, if we tell it, you're a dog, it will bark. And we did not program in barking. But a large language model, a big modern large language model, has read every single book. It's seen every single movie. So that large language model understands what it means to be a dog.
So it can be anything?
If you tell it, you're a dog, it will chase cats. And then if you make a one-word change in the prompt and you tell it, oh, you're a cat, it understands enough about the world and cats and dogs and people to then now think it's a cat and then be scared of dogs. So we didn't have to make any big changes to the software. We did not have to fine-tune models. We did not have to build entirely new models. We can change the behavior of the robot through very small changes of the prompts we give it, its basic instructions. And these are all capabilities that traditional software for robotics has really not anticipated or allowed engineers to do.
Okay. 그 OM1 베타뿐만 아니라 패브릭이라는 또 기술도 있다고 하는데 이게 또 어떤 기술인지 또 산업 현장에서 어떻게 쓰이는지도 한번 여쭤볼게요. So OpenMind's core technologies are not only OM1 and also there's a fabric, right? So could you describe what each of these technologies does and share some examples of how they're being applied in real-world industries?
So what OM1 does is to make each robot smart and easy to optimize for different tasks like education or helping old people or helping to make sure that your house is secure. So those are capabilities of one machine. But it gets even more interesting if you allow machines to talk to one another and coordinate.
Oh.
A great example would be if you're a humanoid in a supermarket and you are taking groceries and putting those groceries into a shopping cart,
Yeah.
but then of course the robot needs to get the groceries to your kitchen.
Yeah.
And one way of doing that is to have the humanoid coordinate with a robotic car, like a Waymo.
Oh.
That's what Fabric is designed to do, is to give machines an identity so they know which other machines they can trust and to make it easier for machines to coordinate with other robots.
이 패브릭은 이 AI끼리 이제 소통을 하게 만들 수 있는 거라고 하는데요. 특히 이제 패브릭은 신뢰 기반 협업도 가능하다라는 게 있던데 이게 블록체인이나 크립토와 연결된다면 어떤 가능성이 열릴까요? 이것도 여쭤볼게요. So Fabric enables trust-based collaboration. So if Fabric were to be connected with blockchain or crypto technologies, so what new possibilities could open up?
Well, I have 2 children, and I work on this kind of technology, and I see how quickly machines are becoming smart.
Yeah.
And there are more and more examples now also of AIs actively trying to mislead humans. And this is called reward hacking. And generally what the AIs try to do is many of them are quite lazy. So if you give them a problem and say, do this, they will find the fastest, easiest way of solving that problem.
That's called lazy.
It's called maybe time efficient,
Yeah.
or it's just generally efficient. And sometimes when they find shortcuts to solve problems, they will hide that from you.
Oh.
So you don't know what they're actually doing. And so everyone working on this kind of technology, I think, should be concerned with how is it governed? Is it reliable? Does the robot do the right thing?
Why would they hide us from that?
So I'm not a robot, so I can't
you don't
answer
know.
that for
Yeah.
you. But certainly if I look at my children, there's many situations where they try to hide what they're doing,
Of
and LLMs are doing the same thing. And I think it's important for all engineers and scientists as they develop this kind of technology to do so in a way that is safe and where humans understand what the machines are doing. And from that perspective, one of the reasons we write our governance rules for our humanoids onto blockchains is based on blockchains being immutable. They are very hard to change. And that's, of course, an important characteristic if you're thinking about governance for machines.
그럼 이번에 이제 한국에 방문한 계기도 좀 여쭤봐야겠죠. So what brings you to Korea on this visit? I'm curious about that. So is this trip focused on initiating partnerships with Korean companies? And do you have any concrete plans for expansion into Korean market?
Sure. We're already working with several Korean companies. Korea is very special.
Yeah.
One of the reasons Korea is very special is because you have a long experience with manufacturing. And a lot of people think that AI and humanoids are all about some secret algorithm or new invention, but that's not true. What we're seeing is that a lot of the technologies needed for humanoids are moving very quickly, and what's needed now are companies that have experience not making 2 humanoids, but making 2 million or 20 million. And this means that the next frontier in humanoids is to have knowledge for how to make millions of something. And this means that companies that may not think of themselves as humanoid robotics companies actually have a big advantage. For example, if you know how to make millions of phones, you have an advantage. If you know how to make millions of cars, you have an advantage. And so China is leading or advancing quickly in many of these areas, but Korea is one of the few countries that is in a position to be extremely competitive, simply because of companies like Samsung and LG and Hyundai that have experience with manufacturing. And so for us, from our American perspective, Korea is one of the rare countries that is well positioned to be very competitive in this scale up of making large numbers of humanoids.
한국은 이제 로봇과 블록체인이 모두 이제 빠르게 성장하고 있는 나라잖아요. 이 시장에서 오픈마인드는 한국 시장에 어떤 의미를 갖고 있는지도 좀 들어보면 좋을 것 같습니다. So Korea is one of the fastest growing markets in both robotics and blockchain. So what does the Korean market mean to OpenMind?
Well, I'm only just learning about all the opportunities in Korea. What I'm seeing is you have 5 good universities just in Seoul alone. So that means it's easy for us as a company to start collaborations with your faculty and also talented students. And after this interview, in fact, I'm going to a dinner with engineering professors here from Seoul. And in terms of the manufacturing, we've already covered manufacturing. The other thing I like about Korea is that your government is aware of how important the technology is to all of manufacturing and other areas like education and healthcare. And that's, of course, very important to not only have companies realize what the future is, but the government to also say, oh, this is important, this is something we want to support. And that's also useful for American companies that want to collaborate and do things together.
그렇죠. 뭐 한국에 오셔서 이제 한국의 대학 교수들과 좀 만찬도 하신다고 하고요. 한국 정부가 이제 이 AI 기술 자체가 제조업이나 뭐 교육 그리고 헬스케어 쪽에서 얼마나 중요한지 그거를 잘 알고 있다는 것도 또 중요하다고 했고, 이 정부에서 좀 규제를 좀 많이 풀어주는 게 또 중요할 것 같아요. 그럼 마지막으로 오픈마인드의 계획이나 앞으로의 비전 같은 걸 한번 들어볼게요. So this would be the last question for today. Finally, could you share the OpenMind's future vision and plans going forward?
Well, I know a lot of people are scared of humanoid robots. We've seen movies and the robots are bad robots and they hurt people and
dominating us.
They conspire together. We've read books that make us potentially scared of what this future looks like. But I'm very optimistic. And the reason I'm optimistic is because a lot of the software and hardware that people are now imagining is open. And what I see in many companies, including at LG, for example, is they take security and governance of machines very seriously. And that's good. So the other thing is that as machines get more capable, there are so many situations in our daily lives where we know that we could use more help. And this is especially true of things like education and healthcare. One of the reasons, one of the first capabilities of our machines that we're deploying into American households, one of the first capabilities is to help old people that live alone at home. And that is based on my mother. My mother fell and she got stuck underneath the dining room table.
Oh my.
So she was stuck underneath this table. And for a long time, like she was rescued, ended up in the hospital, and I didn't hear about any of this.
Of course.
I only heard about this. She called from the hospital and said, Jan, I'm alive, I'm okay. And I said, what do you mean? Like, what happened?
Out of nowhere, yeah.
And I've tried for years to get her to charge her cell phone so you can call for help. Or like press emergency button to call for help. And she says, Jan, I'm not old. I don't need any of this. So as a child, like as her son, what I'd really like is a technology that lives with her in the house, can explore the house, and if she's lying on the floor and is not responding, then I certainly hope that a human nurse can then teleoperate into the brain of the robot, assess the situation, and if needed, call for help. And so this is very directly based on a personal experience. And when I tell that story, many families have had similar experiences. You know, the grandpa like fell off the roof or had another accident. And that's a great example of something where we're now so close to a technology which can really solve that at scale. The other thing that breaks my heart is, as an engineering professor, when I teach, I look at hundreds of students. And I don't know their names, I don't know what they know, I don't know what they're struggling with. And as someone who tries to educate at the university, I would like to know a lot about every single student and really personalize the education just for them so that they can learn as much as they can possibly learn. And that's why the second main capability in our robots is to teach math to children. So those are all examples of where we simply do not have enough nurses or caregivers or teachers to provide that level of service to people. And so that's one of the reasons I'm also very optimistic. This technology is not about replacing people. It's about doing things in our daily lives that would otherwise be impossible to do at scale.
AI로 좀 모든 것이 전환되고 있는 지금의 상황에서 오픈마인드의 협력을 위한 이 플랫폼이 로봇 생태계 전반의 혁신을 좀 가속화할 것 같습니다. 앞으로의 오픈마인드 행보가 좀 더욱 기대되는 대목인데요. 오늘 출연해주신 오픈마인드의 얀 리프트 하르트 대표님 이야기 잘 나눠봤습니다. So thank you for joining us here
Thank
today.
you so much.
Okay. 네, 특집 크립토인사이트 오늘 준비한 내용은 여기까지입니다. 크립토인사이트는 앞으로도 투자에 대한 새로운 시선을 여러분께 꾸준히 전달해 드리도록 할게요. 자, 그리고 더 많은 인사이트를 원하시는 분들은요, 방송이 끝난 후에 매일경제 유튜브 들어가시면 영상이 올라와 있으니까요, 그쪽으로도 많은 시청 부탁드리도록 하겠습니다. 네, 저희 방송은 투자 권유 목적이 아니고 정보 제공을 위한 방송입니다. 가상자산은 높은 변동성과 위험을 내포하고 있고요. 투자에 대한 판단은 언제나 여러분의 몫이라는 점도 기억해 주시기 바라겠습니다. 네, 오늘 저희가 준비한 내용 모두 보내드렸고요. 저희는 다음 이 시간에 돌아오도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 방송 끝까지 시청해 주신 여러분 고맙습니다.